me right now is Wyoming Senator, Senate Energy Committee and Foreign Relations Committee member, along with being a medical doctor himself, John Barrasso. Congressman, Senator, it's always great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Terrific to be with you, Maria. Congratulations on the shout out on Jeopardy the other evening.
Thank you so much, Senator. That's very kind of you. Let me ask you about the reopenings. You and I spoke about a month ago, and you had said to me, look, my economy, my state is very, vulnerable to this shutdown because you've got lots of industries that are shut, like construction and agriculture, that actually could be reopening now. How is it going, Senator, in terms of the reopening?
Much better. We have a song in the West, back in the saddle again, and it's time for all of us in America to get back in the saddle again when we have 39 million Americans out of work. In Wyoming, our commitment has always been to keep our families safe and to keep our communities running and keep our businesses afloat. And we've been successful doing that as a result of efforts in Wyoming, but also the help of the paycheck protection plans and some of the programs that were part of the CARES Act. But I was a number of places around the state yesterday for Memorial Day ceremonies, very solemn events in cemeteries. People were appropriate, socially distancing, but are coming back, and we're seeing that in our state, and is very successful. People are optimistic about the future.
What about hospitals, Senator? You noted in a new op-ed that we need to allow patients to get medical procedures as coronavirus cases decrease. You said, quote, patients continue to put off doctor visits that could detect life-threatening problems like cancer and heart disease. So when do you think things will change in that regard in terms of hospitals, Senator?
Well, things are starting to change now because there are essential medical procedures which aren't quite emergencies, but these have been put off for months as hospitals have shut down everything other than emergencies because of the coronavirus pandemic. And we've had hospitals all around Wyoming with very low occupancy. They've had to lay off healthcare workers, and at the same time, patients are waiting for care. In Wyoming, we do a thing every spring called Wyoming Health Fairs. I was the medical director for 20 years. Low-cost blood screenings in communities. We canceled 7 of those this spring in Wyoming. Every year we hear from people who tell us that their lives have been saved because of things that they've learned at those health fairs. So as hospitals and communities have shut down things like mammograms, cardiac stress tests, all of those things are harmful to people's health. 600 doctors wrote to the president saying, for the sake of the health of the American people, reopen the country, because health goes beyond the coronavirus itself. Those are the sorts of things I talked out with the president about on Tuesday. We specifically talked about the long-term health complications of people being unable to go to work, people being shuttered away. But under times of high unemployment, Maria, the risk of abuse goes way up. That's spouse abuse. It's
you make a
abuse.
lot of
It's
really
substance
important
abuse.
points.
And one of the Bay Area
right,
hospitals,
Senator.
their trauma center reported that the number of suicide attempts in that area in California in the last 4 weeks was more than all of last year combined. So the shutdown itself is causing health complications. And as a doctor, I'm concerned about all of these health consequences.
You make really important points, so thank you for making them, particularly about these, pre-detection tests like a mammogram. People need to be able to go to their doctors and do things like that. Senator, let me ask you about the long-term damage here. This economy has been shut down for 2 months. There was a real debate going into it. You and I talked about your state, Wyoming, being more impacted by the shutdown than you actually have been impacted by the health issue of the coronavirus, because you've got things like agriculture, tourism, that in some areas there will be some companies that won't be able to make it back. What's your expectation of the long-term damage done to the economy given this shutdown?
You're absolutely right, Maria. In Wyoming, the impact on the economy is much greater than the impact of the disease itself. We've had 11 deaths and under 1,000 cases. But for our energy economy, our agriculture economy, our tourism economy, it has been significant, the impact there. Yellowstone National Park is now open again, so we're welcoming visitors. Energy prices are back. I think you reported it's over $30 a barrel today. Remember, it was in negative numbers just a couple of weeks ago. Agriculture, there continues to be concerns with our cattle ranchers. They're getting paid at an all-time low, historic low prices. So look, in Wyoming, we're tough. We'll get through this. We will, as Ronald Reagan would always say, our best days are still ahead. And the people of Wyoming continue to believe that, Maria.
All right, Senator, before you go, real quick on the PPP, you mentioned the Paycheck Protection Plan. I know that there is a group of senators reached an agreement to extend the forgiveness period from 8 weeks to 16 weeks. What changes are you expecting to the PPP plan?
Well, that's right. It's been very successful in Wyoming. We've done 11,000 of these loans, over $1 billion. Their average loan is about $110,000. Very successful. Some of these businesses, specifically in the area of tourism, say, look, we want to keep people on the payroll. We need a little longer than that 8 weeks. We need to go to 12 or 16 weeks. 75% of the money needs to go for payroll. Some of them, based on their business models, it may need to be a little lower than that. We're working with the Secretary of Transportation. There's a bipartisan group of members of the Senate that want to get something done as well. If there is another piece of legislation, I'm for that. I'm also for liability protection. The small businesses want to make sure, as well as our medical personnel, that they're not getting sued by the sue and settle lawyers who are looking for cases of coronavirus to say, hey, maybe there's somebody that you can sue. They're advertising for that right now, Maria. The lawyers are saying, you know, if you've had coronavirus, call for your free consultation. There likely is somebody you can sue. We cannot, as a nation, afford to do that, Maria, as we try to come back to business, come back alive.
Yep, we will leave it there. Senator, it's great to see you this morning, as always. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Maria.